Hi, I'm Sam Candy and welcome to Sustain Talks. Today I'm joined by Alistair Laing, Capital Partnership Fundraiser at St Anne's Hospice. Hello, Alistair. It's lovely to have you here. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this today. So one of my first podcasts I've done. So yeah, excited.
Well, I'm glad to give you the opportunity. I think it's really important that we hear from charities, especially understanding the challenges that you face. But why don't you start by telling us a little bit more about you, your experience, and St Anne's Hospice, the charity that you work for?
Well, I've been a fundraiser for the last 18 years. I used to work for an organisation called the Children's Adventure Farm Trust as their charity relationship manager, which I absolutely loved. And then the pandemic came along and lots of things happened. And I decided to take voluntary redundancy back at the back end of 2020. A lot of soul searching and deciding what I wanted to do. And I looked on the St Anne's website and they were looking for a capital partnerships fundraiser, which was back in March last year. I had a quick Zoom interview and the next day I was offered the job, which was very, very quick and something that I'd never done before. So my role, essentially, it's a 2-year contract. St Anne's Hospice has got 2 sites. One of those sites is in Heald Green, and it's quite an old building. It's 150 years old, and it's in need of repair. But we've actually received planning permission to build a brand new hospice on the land adjacent to the current site that we've got. So I've been brought in to try and bring in the remaining funding that we require for that new build, and it's especially targeting the corporate world.
Yeah. And what, that's things like that, that's going to be a large cost. But tell us a bit more about the charity and St Anne's Hospice, because I know people might not have experienced what a hospice does and how it helps people.
Sure. Well, St Anne's Hospice is actually one of the oldest hospices in the UK, and one of the largest hospices in the UK as well. It was actually set up back in 1971. So we've just celebrated our 50 years of being working. So the first site that we bought was in Heald Green, and it was the site of an old children's home. So it's a Victorian building, and we're still in there to this day. And then about 20 years ago, we also purchased another site, or had a site purpose built for a new hospice in Little Hulton, in Salford. So we have the 2 sites. And we can cater for 48 people in total as inpatients at those 2 hospices. That's, as I say, we're the second largest behind St Christopher's in London, and we're the largest outside of London. So we provide inpatient care and outpatient care, so both end of life and palliative care. But when I first started the hospice, I expected it to be just a place where you came to die. That was my perception of what a hospice was. And then when I actually got there, I realized there's so much more to it. It's the full holistic care that we provide, physiotherapy and everything that goes with it. One of my first days that I started there, I was actually sat outside having a meeting with my boss. And when I was sat out there, one of our patients came out with her husband, and our patient liaison gentleman staffist came out to have a chat to them, and he was bringing them afternoon tea. Which was lovely. So they were sat there having their afternoon tea, and then he just said, have you got everything sorted for your evening meal tonight? And they said, yeah, absolutely. We've ordered what food we're going to have. And he said, but more importantly, have you ordered what pre-drinks you would like? And he said, oh, yes, we've ordered our gin and tonics as well. So you think everything, I think, thinks a hospice, it's just a place to come and die, but actually it's a place to live, and we make sure that everybody has a fulfilled life until they do pass away.
Yeah, that's I know, sadly, I know some friends whose partners and family members that have been into hospices, and the way that they talk about how they were treated and how they couldn't have got through if it wasn't for those hospices. So I know how
Absolutely.
It is. What about the costs? It must cost to look after that amount of people and to do the work that you do. What kind of costs are you looking at?
Lot. The actual costs of running the 2 sites that we've got is in excess of £10 million a year.
Wow.
So it's a phenomenal amount of money. Now, we receive around about a third of our income from the NHS.
Yeah.
So that money is used, and specifically there really to pay for the clinical staff, so pay for the nurses, and that's what that money's for. However, that leaves around about £20,000 a day that as a fundraising team we need to bring in. So it's a phenomenal amount of money. We are very fortunate. We've got a great bunch of fundraisers. We've got some very, very loyal supporters. People who have maybe lost somebody within the hospice. And it's fantastic, but it's a challenge. It's really, really tough to try and bring in that kind of income.
Yeah, I bet it is. So what kind of things? I mean, is it fundraising events, or I didn't even realise that it was that much money that you needed to raise. That's hard. How do you go about that?
Well, a large amount of money that we also raise comes from legacy income. So once maybe if somebody has passed away within the hospice, maybe their family then set up something within their will, so that we would maybe benefit in the future. That's very difficult to determine how much money you're going to get to come in on a regular basis, because that's obviously dependent on when people do pass away and what they've left, and etc. So that's one of the main areas that we get income from. But then we do all the usual fundraising things. So we have an events program. So we have our annual golf day. We're going to have a ball this year. We do events like the Manchester Midnight Walks. That's one of our biggest events that we hold throughout the year. We're teaming up with Tour de Manx this year, and we're going to be putting some people in to do the ride around Greater Manchester. So there's just various ways that we hold Christmas fairs, summer fairs, and we've got charity shops. So there's the usual way that we do try and raise money, and then we also try and engage the corporate world as well. It's very important to try and get as many people or as many organisations involved as well, and that's specifically what I'm doing, because when I talk about having to bring in £20,000 a day, that's our running costs. Our new hospice that we're going to be building is a cost of around 19 million, and we're hoping to start building later on this year, with a view to be moving in late 2023 or early 2024. So it's a real challenge at this moment in time.
Yeah, I bet it is. Tell me a bit more about those partnerships. What do they look like with the businesses? With the businesses,
we have different partnerships with all sorts of different companies, whether it's maybe a small accountancy business up to the multinationals, and we're always looking for new companies to engage with as well. So really what we do is I would sit down with an organisation or a company when they want to get involved with the organisation or with St Anne's, and we'll sit down and we'll chat about what that business wants to get out of the relationship and what St Anne's wants to get out of the relationship with the company. And that might be that they want to engage the staff in corporate social responsibility. They might want to get the staff involved, coming down, hands-on, and actually physically getting involved with some physical work. Or it might be they want to just choose as their charity of the year, and actually raise money for us throughout the year. It might be they're all a fit bunch and they all want to go and climb Mount Kilimanjaro, and we can facilitate that for them as well. So when I started fundraising, going back 18 years, you could very much approach the corporate world and just say, we need some money from you.
Yeah.
You can still do that, but you tend not to get it. What you need to do is you need to work on that relationship. You need to build a relationship. You need to understand that the company wants to fulfill its corporate social responsibility. They want to make sure that they're engaging their staff. And then you find out if you can engage the staff, you will find that money will come out of the bottom of it anyway.
Yeah,
because the staff will want to do stuff for you. They'll get more engaged. The company will then buy more into it as well. They might match fund. And then rather than it just being a charity of the year, we're really aiming for it to be a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
So that we can develop that and get it moving forward.
I think that's so important. I always say that with charities, that especially around CSR, that businesses, it needs to be real in-depth long-term partnership, because then you're both going to gain more out of it. And it's certainly to engage your staff, to engage with your customers. I think it's really important for those relationships to be more than a year, because it takes a year and you're probably only just getting started with the relationship. So you said it's quite challenging asking businesses for money. Is that because they're you know, it's harder they're going through struggles, or they're just, you know, they get these calls all the time? What is it that
I think you just hit the nail on the head there, really. It's not that they get calls all the time. There's so many fantastic charities out there. You know, and if I approach a company to just out of the blue to talk to them, they've probably been approached by 25 or 30 others. So what companies tend to do is nowadays they tend to go to the staff and say, look, we'll have a vote on it. You know, have you been touched by a charity? And then people will vote for which charity that they would like to support. A lot of that time it might be cancer charities because people have been touched by cancer, or wherever. It might be, you know, a children's charity because of somebody's been a child who's been in a children's hospital, whatever it is. It's quite difficult with so many charities out there to actually get an in. So then that takes it back to what you're saying. I'm not a fan of, and I should be a fan of, the word charity of the year. But I want to build long-term relationships, and I want to be a charity partner with that company, and that to grow and develop and build over the years. And that's what I see happening. And then, you know, rather than it being in and out of one charity and then in and out of another and trying hard to keep on getting new charities, if you can build long-term relationships with a few, then that's a real win for me.
Yeah, I can see that. You know, I'm not a fan of let's vote for our favourite charity, because you're always going to get the big ones that are going to come up, because that's what people think of, that's what's front of their mind. But it's the little charities that also need the local charities that you can relate to, that really do need the business's help. And you know, for one of the big charities, you may not be able to build that kind of relationship. I'm not saying that you shouldn't give to the big charities too, but it's maybe worth looking at a few different partners and incorporating a few different charities that relate, but really keep in mind those smaller charities as well, right?
Absolutely. And I think we very much focus on our locality as well. We've got very, very loyal supporters from our very near vicinity. And we I wouldn't use the word exploit, but we use that to our benefit, because I think we are a local charity. People have known that St Anne's Hospice has been in Heald Green and in Little Hulton, in Salford for many years. We've also got a presence in Withenshaw Hospital with the Neil Cliff Centre. So you know, we are a local charity. We support individuals in Manchester, Stockport, Trafford, and Salford. They are the areas that we cover, and very much we are looking for organisations within those areas to support us. You know, we're not looking for companies that are based in London or the like. It's we want Manchester-based organisations to be supporting our charity and supporting what will be Manchester's new hospice once we've built it as well. And that's the way that we are marketing it as well. We are marketing it as Manchester's new hospice.
Yeah. And when it comes to, you know, people helping, are you just looking for money? What other support are you looking for?
Predominantly, what we've talked about there, of course, we're looking for money. That's one of the main things that we need. However, there are lots of other things as well. You know, we need donations for our charity shops. You know, we need people to be going through and stuff that's new or next to new, donating those. We need donations. We need gifts in kind as well. You know, there's lots and lots of things that we require. You know, we've been so lucky during the pandemic to have people who've been donating face masks and, you know, the full ones and all sorts of things for us during the pandemic. We have Christmas fairs that we need donations of items for. It might be that we can target an organisation, and rather than them asking for money, it might be that they are a bed manufacturer, and we can ask them for beds or mattresses or that kind of stuff. So it's looking, that's what I said about the big picture. When you first meet an organisation and meet a company, is how can we best benefit from what they do? And it might be they have a product that we can utilise. It might be they have got a really, really hands-on workforce, and we can say, look, we've got our garden and we need some help doing some gardening. Can you send 10 people down for a day and just get your hands dirty and come and do that for us? We've got a relationship at the moment with the Trafford Centre.
Mhm.
and everybody lobs their 10p's and their 50p's into the fountain.
Yeah.
Well, that all gets scraped out every so often. It's about once every 6 months, and it's just manky. And we have to get people to go through it and sort it out and bag it up and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we need, and we target the corporate world to come and help us with that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Obviously, it's been a tough couple of years. I know you've changed jobs, so you said that you've had a lot of support from the community, but for a lot of charities, the pandemic has really hit them hard, and obviously people don't have as much time or money, or they don't want to sort of be in person. Has that been a struggle over the pandemic?
It's been a huge struggle from so many different ways as well. I mean, firstly and foremost, from our patients' point of view, we've had to limit the amount of visitors that they've had. We've still been very lucky that we've been able to have visitors, but it's limited to 3 nominated people, and only 2 people can visit at any one point in time. So that's very difficult if there's a family of 5 or 6 that want to come and visit somebody. So that's caused us an issue. We've also had at times, obviously, some of our staff have had COVID. There's no getting away from the fact. So they're then self-isolating, and we are still continuing with that at this moment in time. So even though the UK is coming out of lockdown somewhat, we are not. So we are still in a very, very strict, controlled environment.
Yeah.
So that's been very hard. From my point of view, from the fundraising side, that has been very difficult. We are well down in income over the last year or so. Not surprisingly, you can't expect the corporate world to be giving money when on one hand they're furloughing staff or they're making staff redundant. So charities have not been at the forefront of their thoughts, I don't think, over the last year or so, or last 2 years. So that has been very difficult. It's also very difficult to ask people for money virtually. I like to look them in the eye and tell them what we really need. And, and it's really powerful. An example, for the first time in 2 years, I'm actually going out to do a presentation tonight. And it's the first one I've done in 2 years. And that is my bread and butter, going out and actually talking to people and engaging and communicating. And that's just not happened. We're members like you are of Manchester Chamber of Commerce. Mm-hmm. And I'm just dying to get back face to face. We're still having virtual meetings there. So it's been a really challenging time. Again, events, we've not been able to hold them.
Yeah.
We've not been able to hold our midnight walk. We've not been able to hold our golf day or whatever the events are. So, it's been really, really challenging.
Yeah, I bet. Well, if there was one thing, I mean, hearing it from your voice, I hope that this impacts businesses to reach out, or to pick up the phone, or to take your calls or something. But if there was one thing that you could say to the corporate companies right now, what would that be?
I think from my point of view is our new hospice is something that is essential. We have got to the point that the building that we're currently in Heald Green is not fit for purpose. We are providing world-class care. We've got world-class nurses, and yet the building is not fit for purpose. So because of that, we've not actually been fixing things that are going wrong, because we know we're going to be moving into this new building. It needs a new roof. The corridors are not wide enough. There's leaks. We've not got piped oxygen. Nurses are dragging oxygen through the building. So it's not fit for purpose. We are in the position at this moment where we've raised around about, or half of the 19 million has been released by our trustees. We're confident that other money is going to come in, but we're still going to be about £6 million short. And I'm just need the corporate world and people of Manchester to become founder funders of Manchester's new hospice, and just get in touch, see where there's any way they can get involved, engage the staff, do some events, help us in any way you can. But we need this new hospice for Manchester. We none of us want to be in a hospice, but it might be somebody's mum, dad, brother, sister are going to need that hospice, and they would want it to be the best place that it possibly could, and not somewhere where they're in multi-wards and there's other people about and there's a lack of privacy. We need this new hospice for Manchester, and I would just ask them to really think about that and see whether they could help us.
Well, I hope that this podcast and this interview helps in some way, it's really been insightful for me to hear about your journey and your challenges, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I really wish you the best, and I hope that I can come up and hopefully see the new hospice and it gets all the funding that it needs. You're doing an amazing job, and well done, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.